Hello friends, welcome back. Before we get into this, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has subscribed. It seems the algorithmed earlier this week, and my subscriber numbers have tripled since I last filmed, or at least I think it's tripled. It might be more than that, actually. That is absolutely wild to me because I feel like this is not a particularly exciting channel at this point, but I really appreciate the moral support. And special shout out to the gang from the Discord that I'm in. It is super uncomfortable for me to do any kind of self-promo, but I really appreciate the support from everybody, and I hope that this gets more fun and exciting as we keep going. As is going to be the routine in pretty much all of these videos, let's take a look at my spending for my previous paycheck, and then we will go through my budget for my paycheck that I got today, which is October 3rd. As far as unexpected events in my most recent pay period go, we had some positives and some negatives. A positive was that I got a $150 refund check from my health insurance company. I was not expecting that. I didn't even realize it was a benefit that I had, but apparently I get refunds for doing preventative care. So that showed up. That was exciting. That was extra income. I did not get my car insurance refund. I could have sworn it was supposed to pay out last week, but it has not, so we still ended up $142 higher than I was expecting, so total income ended up being $2,902.09. My fixed expenses were pretty much as expected. The only thing is that I did cancel my Hulu subscription, so that ended up being $0 instead of the $22 that I had budgeted. I came in roughly $25 under budget and ended up having more left over than I was expecting, $2,042.86 as opposed to $1,875. I ended up spending way less on gas than I thought I was going to. I did budget extra because I thought I was going to be driving more, but I did not because my parents have an EV and they very kindly drove me to my 5K and picked me up afterwards. So didn't have to expend any extra gas for that, so that ended up coming in about $35 under what I had budgeted. I was, however, pretty much voluntold to order takeout for dinner for everybody last week, which was not really something that I wanted to do, but easier to just go along with it than have to explain to my family why I don't want to spend $50. I also spent about $30 going to the hockey game that I went to on food, got a milkshake and some dinner at the arena. Obviously, arena dinner was really expensive, but for some reason I always get a craving for chicken fingers when I'm at hockey games, so that happened. So I ended up spending about $85 on food unexpectedly over the last couple of weeks. Not ideal, but still ended up having more left over than I thought because of the refund check from my health insurance. Savings was exactly what I expected it to be, as it always is. And why do I never write this in here? Because of the refund check, I ended up actually putting all of it as an extra payment towards my highest interest credit card. So instead of the $600 that I budgeted towards debt, it ended up being $750, and I had $83.16 left over. Not a huge sum of money, but again, I still had other money left over in my checking account, so that just added to that cushion. All told, I did end up going over budget, but I really went over budget because of the extra payment towards my credit card, so I think that is acceptable. Now on to my most recent paycheck. Paycheck date is 10/3/2025. As per usual, I'm budgeting $27.17 on this one. I have 2 annual subscriptions that are hitting during this pay period, so those are in my fixed expenses, and that is why this is kind of a tight pay period. I think I'm over-caffeinated. My arm wants to shake. But that's what happens when I don't sleep. Although I did remember the ring light this time, so we're still doing better than we were the last time I filmed. This subscription is for the meditation app that I use. If anybody is looking for one, I highly recommend it. I pay for premium to be able to access some of the other tracks and get some additional features, but the free version works great too, so would recommend if anybody wants a good one. And then I also have my antivirus renewing I've been thinking about trying to find a different one, but I did not get into that soon enough this year, so that is not happening this time, but maybe before next year I will. Also, hack, it should have been twice that, but I went through and said I was going to cancel, so they offered me 50% off for the year, and of course I took that. So I've budgeted $212 for my fixed expenses, which brings me down to $25.05 left. Seriously, this shaking arm is like making this really difficult. So if my handwriting is a mess, that is why. Not much going on in my variable expenses as usual. Although I am going to call my gas $100 because I am driving to South Carolina for my friend's wedding next weekend. So that is going to take probably an extra tank of gas in a little bit. So that brings me to $150 for my variable. The reason why the hotel and stuff for the wedding is not on here is because I already paid a 50% deposit for my room, and I have money set aside for the other 50% and for my hotel room the night I drive down there. I'm not staying overnight when I drive back because it's quarter close at my job right now. So I need to be back by Monday, which means I am driving 10 hours on Sunday, which is going to be really fun. But that stuff's not on here. I will report back on whether or not I stayed on budget for that. I'm only going Thursday through Sunday. I'm leaving Thursday after work, so there shouldn't be too much going on, but I need to make sure I pack snacks and stuff so that I don't buy things I don't need. Anyway, $23.55 left over. We'll bring that up here. Usual savings. My car maintenance fund is at almost $800, so that's fun. I shouldn't need anything done to it until I have to take it in for inspection and to have my winter tires put on. So that is going to continue to build because I don't think that I am going to need to do that for a couple months. My inspection's up in December, so that's when that has to happen, but that should not be a huge deal, hopefully. And we are unfortunately cutting it really close this month. My leftover after my debt payments is $26. I actually did make all of these already. I don't think that'll be a shock to anybody that has watched my last couple of videos because I knew that I was going to be doing these, so I did them this morning. Don't want to forget, any days that I can save on interest is a good day, so actually made my affirm payment early too. That's not due till the 14th, but again, saving interest. So that is where we are at. $26 left over. I need to stay on budget here. I need to not let myself be voluntold to buy takeout for more people. And it really should be a pretty quiet couple of weeks aside from my friend's wedding. So they did not request any gifts since everybody does have to travel to go to it. So I really appreciate that. And it should be a good time. High school friends, so get to see a bunch of people that I don't get to see a lot since half of them don't live here anymore. All right, now onto the fun stuff, the debt payoff check-in. I have had every statement except my Chase close since the last time I filmed, so I have balance updates on everything. My credit union Visa is down to $23.39.65, so that is another 2 stars on here. I'm down 15% since I started keeping track of this on this card, so that is good. This is my lowest interest rate card, but you guys know anything helps. My highest interest card as of my last statement balance is now down to $5,651.39. This is the card that I made extra payments on this month, so that will get even lower, and I get to color in 2 stars on this one, so that's over 2% paid off, which doesn't sound like all that much, but it should be several percent on my next statement date, which is not until the second half of this month. So that check-in probably will not be until my Halloween paycheck. I don't get to color anything on this one for a while because every payment that I make only reduces the balance by like $30. So we're gonna be here for a long time for that one. We do get to color one in on this one. My balance is down to $22,298.11. So that's a star on here. And then perhaps the most exciting thing, I get to color a star in on my cumulative tracker. My overall balance is down by $841.74 as of the most recent statement period on all of these cards, which is 1.13% of my total balance. Depressing, terrifying, but also kind of exciting that I get to color something in on here. So, yay for that. I do not have a credit score refresh right now. That will be in a few days, so that will come in the next video. Just some general updates. I went through over the last couple of weeks and actually budgeted out all of my paychecks through next June, operating under the assumption that I don't get a raise and I don't get a bonus, both of which should be happening. So it is not entirely accurate. It is the most conservative estimate that I have. But based on that estimate, it appears that I should be able to pay off at least $10,000 of my credit cards by June 30th next year. For a lot of people, that would be paying off their entire balance. Unfortunately for me, that is not even a quarter of mine, but it is a huge dent, and it speaks to how quickly I'll be able to save once I deal with all of this. So on the one hand, while it is kind of disheartening, it's actually exciting to a pretty significant extent for me. So that was a good psychological exercise to go through. Obviously, there are going to probably be things that come up that I did not have planned for in there, but I also figured out that I'll probably have about $3,000 that is not budgeted towards anything by then as well. Some of that will go towards extra payment towards my credit cards. Some of that will go towards being able to enjoy being a person, because I think it's good for everybody's mental health to give yourself a little bit of room if you can when you're going through something like this, because it's a long slog. It's not just shutting down for 3 or 6 months. This is years. So trying to allow myself some whimsy where I can. The hockey game that I went to last weekend was definitely whimsy. It also made me cry, but in a good way. So I definitely encourage everyone to allow yourself that if you can, even if it's only, $20 here or there. I also went through and redid my credit card payoff spreadsheet to take into account extra payments when it's calculating out the interest and what the final balance will be. I need to tweak it a little bit more because I want to include some more payments and also give it the ability to calculate based on additional purchases that end up on the cards. Again, everything that I purchase gets paid off immediately, but I do want to put that in there because that does kind of factor in, since actually I tend to make the payments before the purchase even posts. So I usually have a day or two of a slightly lower balance that interest is being calculated on. If anyone would be interested in seeing what that spreadsheet looks like, let me know. I do know my way around OBS. I did used to Twitch stream, so I can record if anyone wants to see that. I just find it a little more helpful than the Vertex 42 calculator because the Vertex 42 calculator does not take into account any variances due to paying early. So I just find it more helpful to have that level of detail. I'm also thinking that I might try to do some savings challenges, not for October because the month is going to be a little bit tight, but for future months where I have more money left over. If anyone has any favorites for those, let me know. Currently, all I'm thinking about is doing percentage splits, just whatever I have left at the end of a pay period, a certain percentage going towards a couple things that I'm saving for that are not listed in here because I'm sort of already doing that. I get to the end of a pay period, I look at what's left on my checking, and then I move $20, $50, something like that to the goal. So I may do that and just split. This percent goes to these savings, this percent goes to my credit card. I don't know. If you have any favorites that you think are fun, interesting, whatever it may be, drop them in the comments and I will check them out. And I will update on what I've chosen, if I've chosen anything, in one of my next 2 videos. And we'll go from there. But that is going to be it for me for this paycheck. If anybody wants that overview of my payment calculator, my payoff calculator, whatever you want to call it, that can be its own video, most likely. I don't really want to try to shoehorn it into one of these, so let me know. And if so, that one will be extra, although probably not between this and my next paycheck video, just because, again, I will be at my friend's wedding, so not gonna have a lot of time to film. Hopefully I can stay on budget for this pay period and not eat into this nice $26 cushion that I have. And we will check back in a couple of weeks and I'll let you know how that went. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the comments. It feels good to have some company on this journey that I am on. So I will catch you guys in the next one, and I hope everybody has a good couple of weeks. Bye.